Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we've got a couple of killer guests, young guns from the East Coast, as we call them. We've got Tom Cafarella here with us, who is the new host of the Real Estate Mogul podcast. You can check that out on iTunes. We also have Gene, the Volpinator, Gene Volpe, here with us today with a social media and or tech tip. So, man, this is another episode, Greg, where it's all like West Coast, East Coast. I don't know if we're going to get a word in edgewise, so I'm going to talk while I can. The junior grandmaster himself, Greg McDaniel, is here with us. Greg, what's up today?
Dude, I'm awesome, brother. It's like Biggie Smalls versus Tupac, and Tupac's going to represent West Coast, best coast player. Oh, No, it's awesome, man. I got the nose pinch at like 3 seconds deep. This is awesome. And this is going to be a great show. But I was talking with Tom off air about kind of what he's doing in his company. And you guys just hold on to your chairs. I'm pretty sure you're going to fall off when you hear the numbers this guy is pushing through Mojo. If you think you're really proud of your 100 calls a day, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to make you look like a toddler pooping your pants. But it is awesome. But, dude, Volpe, I'm so pumped you're here, brother. And we have got great people joining in. So welcome, happy Friday to all my players. Okay, now I'm done.
All right, good. All right, Tom, let's start with you. So, Tom, give everybody just a quick 60-second bio, who you are, where you are, what you do.
All right, I'm Tom Cafarella, and I am the owner of a fix and flip company called Ocean City Development and a brokerage called Cameron Real Estate Group out of the Boston area. We do about 100 fix and flips a year, and I have a 150-person brokerage.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, damn. I did not expect those numbers when I heard it. I was like, huh? Holy Christ.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, that's what I wanted to get to first. So we got a question from Lead Gen Scription Objections. This is Anna Saeed Kothi. I believe I pronounced that right. Says, who is using a virtual ISA to set appointments? I'm looking for recommendations, and could you share your experiences, successes and failures? So, Tom, give us just a quick rundown of how you use ISAs and what kind of call numbers they're throwing up on the board.
Yeah, so we've got 6 full-time ISAs that are virtual, and roughly speaking, they're hitting somewhere between 600 to 800 calls a day. I've heard pluses and minuses of using virtual ISAs for making calls, and I decided to give it a shot about a year ago, and I cannot tell you how happy I am to do it. And the crux of it really is that you don't want to cold calling. People get a little bit nervous about doing it, but the reality is if you're actually cold calling all day long and you get good at it, it's actually pretty boring. So if you're using it is, because most of the time you're just sitting there waiting to talk to somebody. So the reality of the situation is, and why I believe it's so good to use a virtual ISA, or even it doesn't have to be virtual. It just has to be someone that's a lot lower paid than yourself. Because at the end of the day, most of the time they're just sitting there trying to figure out who might be possibly interested in selling their property. And so if they're sitting there making 500, 600, 700 calls in a day, they're really only getting 4 or 5 people in the course of the day that might be interested in selling in the next 12 months. And it's really a filtering process that we take them through from totally cold to somewhat warm, and then they actually get bumped up to an inside sales agent within my office locally, and then out to an agent one-on-one in the field.
Yeah, and what the numbers that you're alluding to, because you mentioned just the numbers that your virtual ISAs are putting up, but you're in the multiple. What's the actual number like total with your ISA team?
Yeah, we're at about 10K a day, 10,000 calls, 10,000 calls per day.
Same.
And that's between the virtuals and the in-house and my real estate agents. So I've got 6 virtual assistants that are doing it, and then I've got 2 people in-house that are doing it, and then I have a 150-person brokerage. That's the part where I'm working on right now that I'm spending most of my time. I'm trying to get as many of my agents on the dialer as possible because we have a huge database of old seller leads that we're trying to get them to work through. So about half of the calls that are being made by virtual assistants and internal ISAs, and the other half are the real estate agents that are on my team.
This is killer stuff.
It sounds like it's like any other brokerage. You have that top 5 or 10, maybe 10% of your brokerage are actually doing work. Because you said you were trying to get everybody to come in, but then you have that like 90% that doesn't do shit.
Yeah.
Literally, Tom, working for you would be like a dream for any caller like myself. You have like a whole setup, you have all the leads. Literally, it's like, here, I have business for you. Just go plug into the damn phone, but they won't do it.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? Why don't people do that? Why don't they take advantage of it? You're like, here's a free lead. Here, take it. No, you don't want it? Okay, fine. I'll just leave it there.
I think if I had the answer to that question, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. Honestly, I wouldn't, because it's funny. I thought I was the only person that had this problem.
Mm-mm.
And nationwide, this is just over the past couple months, I've been talking to a lot of different people that have brokerages. Everybody has the same issue. And it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to figure it out, but it is what it is. I'm working to try to correct that, but we'll see what happens.
Put your steel toe boots on.
Yep.
Hey, Matt, quick little housekeeping for you, brother. Are you coming through a good mic? Just because you're overpowering it just a little bit, just for your knowledge on that one.
Overpowering?
Yeah, you're overpowering. You're just you're kind of getting a little muffled.
Am I coming through? Yeah, I was going to say, am I overpowering in the sense that I am, is it breaking up or distorting?
Yes, distorting.
Okay. All right. I'll keep an eye on it.
Cool.
If I need to jump off, but let's, guys, everybody that's watching here, first of all, thank you. Appreciate you guys liking and hearting and sharing and all that good stuff. Guys, make sure to put the area that you are in so that the other people that are watching you can keep you in mind for referrals, and you guys can get to know each other and potentially find places where you guys have in common. Like some of our previous guests, Gene, you're one of them, are now meeting up with other guests we've had on the show, like Dale Archdecken, because you realize that you're in the same city. Great. Let's meet up. Let's do something. So, guys, put your area down in the Facebook comments. I'm going to hop off and come back in. That way, maybe my mic will fix itself. In the meantime, let's bounce it over to Gene, the Volpinator, for his tip of the week.
What you got, player? Oh, Gene, you're completely muted. Yeah, Matt muted you.
Not bad. No, how's that better?
Yeah, there you go, buddy. What you got?
I did it myself. Matt didn't do it. I did it.
I like blaming him, though.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt. Fine. That's fine by me. So now, tech tip of the week. I kind of feel like we need some kind of music when you bring me in. I like the way that sounded coming from him, but I need some like Elvis Presley is entering the building music.
All right.
Rep for the rights, the broadcast rights.
Yeah, right. I know. So real quick, Feedly.com. I don't know, Greg, if you want to stick that in the comments, maybe. Feedly.com. So the reason why I brought that up is because I gave a couple presentations this week to a bunch of real estate agents, and the question always ends up being, well, where do you pull a lot of your content from? Mm-hmm. And so what Feedly allows me to do, and this is just me from a personal perspective when I'm handling my social media space, what Feedly is what I call a content aggregator. And so it's one view that you're able to pull all of your favorite articles and news sites in. So like if you're a sports geek and you like ESPN and you do sportsnews.com, you can create a folder in Feedly called Sports, and you point it to pull the RSS feeds from those different websites. And so what ends up happening is each day that gets refreshed with the new articles from the sites that you're pulling in, and it allows you to quickly scan all the stuff you're interested in and pick out some articles that you might want to share with your circle or your circle of influence or your followers or your fans. And so from a sharing other people's, we call it OPM, other people's marketing, from sharing other people's marketing or news that fits your persona and your business, this is a really good dashboard, quick way to look. Hey, these are 3 articles I think people would be interested in that might get me some engagement. Let me take that link, put a little piece of comment from my own stuff over top of it, and share it to my base. So it's just like a shortcut.
That's really good stuff. Gene, as everyone on the show, maybe not Tom knows, but I'm on doing Facebook Lives all the time, and I'm doing the Tom, you're talking about when you do Mojo calls, it gets really epically boring. That's why I'm always like chattering away like a schoolgirl, when I'm doing the calls, about something. And to get content like this, guys, you can go make videos and make like a 3-minute little video or 2-minute little video. Then you can push it out via Facebook ads on a geographical radius, like a radius from your location, and you can do it on a weekly basis. So make 4 4 videos off of the Feedly content, and you guys can spend $35 a day, $140 a month, and be top of mind to the local marketplace. If you don't want to write it out or anything else, you can do a video on it. Either way, you can really utilize this. And if you don't want to do any of it, you can sit there and just become really smart and stay in your house and never come out and be agoraphobic like Matt.
You just had to throw that in at the end. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me?
Agoraphobic. All right, somebody wrote in the comments, Gene 316. I don't know what passage of scripture that is, Gene. We'll see. But thank you for that. Thank you for that tip. So Feedly, guys, go check it out. All right, so Gene, how should people get in contact and get connected up with you?
Just have them hit me at genevolpe.com or gvimedia.com. I can be found on Facebook at Gene Volpe Media as well. So there's a lot of ways. Google me, you'll find me.
Yeah. I was going to say, with a name like that, you're not a marketer worth your salt if they can't find you.
This is true.
All right, man. We will talk to you next week.
And Gene, I will call you later today, buddy.
I'm looking forward to it, my handsome friend.
Oh.
Tom, good luck with these guys, man. Enjoy.
Thank you.
I'm like, I'm screwed.
Have a good weekend, boys.
Later, bud.
All right, so Tom, let's turn back to you. So part of the reason we wanted to bring you on the show is not just because you have a ton of value to share, which you do, but we're also producing for you the Real Estate Mogul podcast, which just hit iTunes yesterday. So the first 2 episodes actually, and one of those is with Greg, your friend, Bo Eckstein, was the first guy that. So I interviewed Tom for the first episode so we could get his message across and share people why he's doing the podcast and what he's all about. And then, Bo was his first interview. That went really, really well. We're super pleased with how that turned out. So that hit, guys. So go check out the Real Estate Mogul podcast on iTunes, or you can just go to realestatemogulpodcast.com and go directly to the blog and subscribe there. But Tom, give everybody a quick idea of just what the podcast is about and why it even exists, and then we'll kind of get into your background a little bit.
So I became a broker and I built out a real estate brokerage off the back of my real estate investing business. And so as I've done that, I've kind of learned in general that most real estate agents are not investors. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, because it goes so well hand in hand. So the whole crux of the entire podcast is to give real estate agents the tools in order to either become investors or work with investors in order to bolt on some additional ways to earn income.
Awesome. Really? So when you say that, I agree with you. When you say that most agents are not investors, is it primarily the reason because they think that they're flat ass broke jokes and they can't afford it and they've never experienced or even tried to leverage some financing or other people's money or anything along those lines, or are they just afraid to do it? Or what's the reason? Help me understand that rationale, because I don't get it.
Yeah, what I've found is that most don't really understand what exactly it is to be a real estate investor. And let me just give you a really simple example of something that every real estate agent can do, but most don't do. Like I mentioned, before we jumped on this call, about 10% of the population does sell to investors. So when most real estate agents go out to a property that needs a ton of work, where the person says they don't want to put the property on the market, they want to sell directly to an investor, most agents will go out there and try to pitch a listing and then not get it because that's not what the seller wants. When in turn, they could actually put that property under contract and wholesale it either to another investor, or they could actually buy that property for themselves at a discount. And so most agents think that you need a ton of money in order to do this. But if you're going to wholesale a property, you literally don't need $1 of your own money in order to do that. So I think it's really a lack of understanding what real estate investing is and how to actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually getting involved right now with a guy out of Southern California, and he and his team are feeding me appointments. So yesterday I was able to refer a $3.4 million listing to a friend over on the peninsula, having another guy do some analysis on a referral they gave me in Oakland, and then another lead that they sent me yesterday in Richmond. These are either lists or they're going to be wholesale deals. And so I have been a traditional agent the majority of, I thought someone just came in, the majority of my life, but it's opening my eyes up to exactly what you're talking about. This whole wholesale thing is freaking awesome. You shit me? Buy 30% under market? Okay.
It is. And the thing about it is that almost every agent comes across a wholesale deal here and there, whether they know it or not, every single year. So it's really a matter of whether or not they capitalize on it. And I think most just miss the opportunity because they don't know how to identify that the opportunity is there or what to do with it once that opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, they're like a dog that chases a car and they catch the car. They're like, what the fuck do I do with the damn car now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're also afraid that if I buy it, then I have to put my money out. And then they come from a lack mindset, saying if I spend my money that I've saved so hard, if I put it out there and then the market crashes, what's going to happen? So they try to insulate themselves by just taking commissions versus actually putting skin in the game. See a lot of people do that in California, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing, right? When you let's just say that you come across a deal that you can get under market value, you put it under contract, and you find another investor to pay you for that contract. Not only typically are you usually able to get a wholesale fee up front, but then a lot of times you can get that listing back after that investor has renovated the property. So in a lot of cases, when an agent is able to identify these type of properties, they can make 2 or 3 times more than a regular commission on that particular deal. And in your market, I mean, that's big money.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, shit, a $3.4 million listing and he has more homes to sell? Okay. But let's talk about this whole wholesale fee. Explain that. What does that mean? Layman's terms for everyone.
Yeah, layman's terms is that you identify a seller who's willing to sell under market value. So let's just say for round numbers that you go out to a property, you meet with a seller one-on-one, and they have a property that's worth $500,000 in today's market. And they're willing to take $400,000 for that property. If you get that property under contract for, say, $400,000, you can find somebody else that might want to pay $420 or $430 or $440, and you're literally getting paid for that person to take your place in the contract.
So they'll pay you there. You'll make the squishy, let's say the $40,000, just to flip it over to them at the 540 price. Then you put it in the contract that you have the opportunity and the ability to resell it once they sell it, right?
Exactly. So in that case, you would make the $40,000 spread plus, let's say that it's worth $700,000 on the back end. Now you have a 5 or 6% listing at $700,000. And again, this what we're talking about right now is putting up zero of your own money. Now, of course, if you identify that you like that property and you want to flip it yourself, there's more margin in that. But for most real estate agents, they may not want to go that far and take the full step. But you can do this wholesale transaction, which is kind of an intermediary between flipping and listing a house.
Yeah, they don't want to get married. They might want to get engaged, but they don't want to get married. I understand it.
Yeah, there's a good comment, good question here. It said Chuck Nardone says, so it's basically flipping a contract. Is he understanding that correctly?
It is flipping a contract. You're literally getting a property under contract for one price, and then somebody is buying that contract for you for a fee.
That's a phenomenal opportunity. It just takes a little bit of hard work. So instead of going out there, because you can buy lists of people that are underwater or anything else, right?
You can. Underwater ones aren't ones that we target as of today because a lot of them end up being short sales. And in today's market, short sales aren't getting approved at the prices that I need as an investor. So, and this changes, but in 2017 right now, the properties that we like are older properties where they have high equity that they've lived in for a long time.
Interesting.
And so the thing is, like, I kind of talked about, like, I don't understand why all real estate agents aren't investors. And one of the key points of that is that you're prospecting to the same people. So whether or not you want to list a house or you want to try to buy that property as an investor, you're still marketing directly to sellers. And so you're not doing anything different. Like, real estate agents already have 99.9% of the tools that they need in order to be investors. And they're just missing that, small educational component. And again, that goes back to what we're focusing on my podcast.
Interesting. So what would be a mindset shifter for agents? How can they tweak their brain like a 0.5% to all of a sudden open up and see the opportunities in front of them? Because we all laugh about the fact that, like, when you want to get a new car, all of a sudden everybody else has the same damn car. You're like, what the hell? I thought I was the only one that liked this car, but then it's like everywhere. So how can they start seeing opportunities?
So I think the biggest thing to understand is that when people kind of hear about selling at a discount, selling at a 20 or 30% discount, most people think, that will never happen. And the key thing to understand is that only 10% of sellers are going to sell at a discount.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to be ready when you meet that 1 out of 10 people. And so it's kind of like, you're going to go and meet with somebody. They're all going to want retail or sometimes higher than retail for their property, but being ready for that 1 out of 10 people that says, yeah, I'm a hoarder and I don't want people coming through my house. It happens all the time. That's one of the most common things is that somebody won't want other people in their house, maybe for privacy reasons or something else, and they don't want to put their house on the market traditionally.
Interesting. There's a house right around the corner from me now, right outside this wall right here. It's $1 million flat for like a 1,500 square foot little original rancher built in 1950, right? Dude, one of the best of that going that direction by about 5 streets. There is, you're $3 million instantly to buy it, just instantly on that street. Dude, there's just one POS. I mean, I swear to God, they're going to make horror movies out of this house. That would be a perfect example of one of these people that wouldn't want to come through. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
So what about going up and door knocking on people just like, hi, I see that you're a hoarder, sir. Have you ever thought about selling under market? I mean, could you do something like that?
You definitely could, but there's actually no correlation between a property being in really bad condition and somebody wanting to sell to an investor, believe it or not.
Really?
So we buy a lot of properties that are in fair condition, that there's another external reason why they want to sell to an investor. So just because a property is in really bad condition doesn't mean that the person's going to be reasonable about the price, and vice versa. Just because the property's in decent condition doesn't mean that they're not going to sell discounted.
Have you ever seen like just like a divorce situation, like a husband's pissed at the wife or the wife's pissed at the husband? They're like, dude, I'll sell my house for 25% of the value just to fuck him over. And you're like, I'm your man.
Yeah, I mean, there's about 100 different situations, and that's one of the 100 that can potentially lead to a discounted sale. So when we go out and we meet with somebody, we identify what makes the most sense for them. And in the case of a divorce, sometimes it does make the most sense for them just to sell to an investor because they have bigger fish to fry at that point sometimes. Yeah. Not always, but sometimes. And we're there basically to serve their needs when that type of option is needed. We're an option. That's it.
Hey, that's the best way to go. You're giving people the ability to make a decision on how they want their future to turn out. If you guys are trying to figure out where Matt gets some of these, I mean, we had a guy named Matt on the show a little while ago, little ways back with a company called Rebo Gateway. They do divorce, death, notice of default, notice of sale, all kinds of different notifications that affect that home. So if you want to get a list, go to Rebo Gateway and you can pick some stuff up there. Do you buy from Rebo by any random chance?
I don't buy from Rebo. I've heard of them. I use some other list providers, but to be honest with you, I do a lot more of my own database building than buying lists from other people. So so what I find when you buy lists like notice of defaults is that you then have to actually break that list down further. So for example, if I just mail or call or door knock on every notice of default, some of those properties are going to be properties that I might not even want to buy as an investor. So rather than buy a list and cut it up, I actually start with the database and then I cut that up how I want it. Because like as an investor, as an example, like most people who sell to me have lived in their house for 10 plus years. Mm-hmm. So there's not too many list providers that will actually cut up the data the way that I like. So unfortunately, I have to manually do all that, but I've done that. So like in the greater Boston area, I already have my database of every property that I want to buy. And then cold calling, like we started talking about, is just one of the ways that we reach out to the sellers.
Okay. You and I are going to talk off air. I have something I want to run by you. But that's very, very, it's incredibly interesting. So how do you go about cutting up a database? I mean, what are some of your parameters that you want to start looking at? Yeah. Is it time in the home, age of the people, type of loan? I mean, what are you looking at?
Yeah, it's a lot of those. So loan amount is a huge one. Because if they owe more than what I can pay as an investor, it's a dead deal right then and there. So if their property is worth $300,000 and they have a loan on it for $280,000, they're not going to sell to me at $200,000. Not going to happen. So mortgage is one of them. Age of home is another. And age of home varies from area to area across the United States. So in Massachusetts, we have some old homes. And so basically when I'm building a list in Massachusetts, I'm looking for homes that were built prior to 1960 because anything after 1960 in Massachusetts is actually considered fairly new. So
Really?
age of home, mortgage balance, age of homeowner matters. Like the three guys that are on this, podcast right now, we won't sell to an investor, so there's all of those different demographic information and property information, and that gets all cut up to create the database that I then prospect to until they either sell to me or they sell to somebody else.
Interesting. Now,
So you can principle there. I mean, just in general, I mean, the technical details, like you, Tom, you've set a set of like criteria for what you're looking for, but there's a bigger principle there, which is that you have said basically, look, I'm going to figure out exactly who I want to work with, and then I'm going to go out demographically, psychographically profile them essentially, and use the open data that you have available to find them, target them, and actively go after them and just hit them until you get through with a message that they respond to and they get into your pipeline. But you're very, very, very clear on exactly who you want to get into that pipeline. You don't just let anyone in, and you don't buy lists just to buy lists. Which is unfortunately what a lot of agents do. We buy leads, but we're not really even paying attention and being very specific. We don't even know who we want to work with before we go out and buy leads.
So I made that mistake when I first started out. I would buy a probate list or I would buy a notice of default list, and then I'd do a huge mailer. And then I'd realize that, wow, half of the leads that came in are properties I can't even buy, or half of them are in locations I don't want. So, essentially, we've made all the mistakes that you can make when it comes to marketing. I mean, we'll still make some more mistakes, don't get me wrong, but we've cut out a lot of the mistakes that you make early on in your career.
Just from trial and error and, tripping and falling on your face, right?
Trial and error is everything. I mean, I wish I could say that I learned from other people. Unfortunately, I'm too stupid to do that. I have to make the mistake myself. So even if somebody tells me not to do something, I do it anyways, and then it fails, and then I do what works. So,
I got to stick my own finger on the light socket. Yep, that hurt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that's you, if you're listening or watching on Facebook right now and that's you, hit the heart button or something. Let us know. That's funny. That sounds a lot like Greg. I'm not so much. I feel like I learn better from when somebody gives me a good piece of advice. Greg's like, screw you. I'm going to run my head right into the nearest wall.
And that is why I'm getting a crap ton of likes right now.
The way that you're talking about doing it, Matt, is a smart way to do it. The problem for me is that I just never feel like I can totally trust somebody who's giving me advice. So, seriously, because I don't, someone would have to be so far ahead of me for me to think, okay, maybe, they know what they're talking about. But I always take advice with kind of a grain of salt. You never know. So then I test it myself and then come up with my own conclusion. Because two people can look at something and have a different opinion of what it is. So you can talk to two people about like how to do a mailer, and they could both be successful people, but they might do it in a little bit different way. So it's like, I just feel like there is some part of it that I just always feel like I have to do some trial and error myself.
Yeah, Matt and I always disagree on things. So I'm like, man, Tom, did you know this about us before you came on the show? Because I'm always like, Matt, we should go like this big. He's like, how about we start here and then gradually grow? I'm like, fuck that, man. Let's go like this big. He's like, but it is all about trial and error, and it is all about having that counterbalance. And you do have to trust the people that you're taking advantage of from. And that's something that, I mean, Tom, I want to touch on really quickly. I don't know if you brought it, if you brought it up, but a lot of agents, when they go out there, they start taking advice wholeheartedly from agents they should not be listening to. I mean, if your grandma has sold 3 homes back in '76, she's like, Sonny, this is the way shit goes. Like, fuck off, grandma. This is how I do my shit now. This is my age. No, you don't tell grandma.
Wow, man, that was very harsh. Tom, well, it brings up a good point because, Tom, you and I were chatting here. What was it? What was that day we were chatting like a couple of weeks ago, and you were sitting in your office? I think it was the day before a holiday. It wasn't a holiday. Of course, you and I were working the holiday, but it was like the day before or something like that. Maybe it was the day before. It was the weekend before Memorial Day. It was the Friday before Memorial Day. And you're like, nobody's been in the office for like 2 days. And you just know, like when agents come in, that's exactly who they're listening to it for advice. Is all the agents that are taking Memorial Day and stretching it into a week-long vacation.
Man, there's so many of those weeks too where like in my head I don't even know it's a holiday, but I figure out it's a holiday because I don't see anybody.
You and Matt are exactly alike. Like I'll say, Matt, this holiday's coming up. He's like, what holiday? I'm like, oh, bro. I mean, you're obviously not a real estate.
We had to set back the new class, Getting Out Business. It can't start on July 3rd because that's the day before holiday. Greg's going to be otherwise engaged, so we had to start on the next one.
So is everybody else. Everyone's going to be up at the lake or doing something more fun than sitting with us.
I'm going to be working. All right, so let's get into the seller lead generation part of it. So you basically start with a really good profile of who you want to work with, right? Then you're going to start reaching out to them. We know you're getting, phone numbers and calling them and stuff like that. Briefly take us through, like, where do you like to get your data? Why do you get it there? And you guys are loading it just straight into Mojo. Are you guys using Mojo's data, or are you getting it from somewhere else?
No, I get it from Cole Realty Resource, and people argue over what data is the best. I've found Cole to be, fairly accurate and fairly good. You're never going to get 100% accurate phone records. It's just not humanly possible. I don't care what data provider you use, but you try to get the best phone records that you can get. Then you load them into Mojo. Mojo is a 3-line dialer, so you can talk to a lot more people than you normally would, especially if you were manually doing dialing. So if you're on Mojo for a full day, you should be hitting 500, 600, 700 calls in a day. And like I said, we just have the virtual assistants doing some. We have the inside people in our office in Boston doing some, and then the agents are doing some calls.
Gotcha.
How many calls on average do you find your not your overproductive but your pseudo productive agents? What are they putting down on a daily basis?
They're not. There's really not a lot of consistency. Like I get a report every single day that says these are how many calls every single person makes. So I always run through. And to be honest with you, even my best agents, it's not consistent. So what I find is like when they have the time, they'll be on it. But it's not like some of the best offices that I've seen, they'll make the agents come in, and from like 9 to 12 o'clock, they'll hit the dialer, and they'll do that 5 days a week. And to me, like if I was an agent full time, that's how I would do it, because I feel like you need to do your prospecting. The hardest thing, eat that frog, do the hardest thing first thing in the morning. But what I see is a lot of inconsistency where people get tied up with listings and appointments, and then they don't do a lot of prospecting, and then they wake up and they're like, oh my God, I don't have any listings, and then they prospect, and it's kind of a vicious cycle.
It is. It's the porpoise effect. I got so much business, I have no business. I have so much business, I have no business. But what it really comes down to, Tom, which Matt and I just try to browbeat everyone who listens to this and watches us, set it in your mother effing schedule. Like it's a listing appointment. I mean, how hard is it, people? An hour is 4% of your day. If you can't invest 4% of your day, dude, go get a 9 to 5 and flip burgers at McDonald's, man. I mean, shit, it's it's your lunch hour at McDonald's. That's how much time it takes for you to do cold calls every single day. Just 1 hour.
I think the difficult thing with real estate in general is we're our own bosses. So for most people, it's difficult to be disciplined like that. And I am disciplined like that, but I think for the most people, it's hard to just get that ingrained in their head that they need to knock that time out. And it's also so easy in real estate to do things that keep you busy but not productive. So there's always an admin thing that we can be doing, So if you're not disciplined, you do the admin thing, and then your production isn't where it should be.
What I find a lot about it, Tom, is that, once people have a big enough why, they'll become very dedicated to their schedule. But if they're just coasting through and they're doing a couple of deals and that feeds their shoe habit or their travel habit or whatever, they're just putting a couple extra bucks in for. If their husband or wife loses that mainstream of income, now they're fucking dedicated. All right, now they're going to get in the office. They're going to be like, oh, my goodness, baby cakes. We got to make some money. Yeah. And so a lot of times people don't understand why they're working. And then they can justify taking the time off. Oh, my girlfriend or my buddy's in town. I'm going to go show them around the bay or the city or something like that. Or, my back hurts. I'm going to work from home today, a.k.a. watching Judge Judy all day. Click. Ooh, a marathon. Ooh, how much fun is that?
But it also goes to, Greg, I mean, so the three of us that are on this call today, correct me if I'm wrong, we are
Driven?
well, not just driven, but we are driven to the point of obsession with figuring out how to reach our potential and then pushing the limits of our potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can say this at least about myself. Like, I can't shut it off. Like I go home and I'm still working. I mean, it's to the point where it's actually a problem in the other way for me. But it is what it is. Like, I love real estate. I love what I do. So, fortunately or unfortunately for my family, it's like I go home and I'm still thinking about all the stuff that I can be doing.
Right.
So
I mean, this big ass thick book, guys. This thing is, I don't know, 10, 15 years old. I go home and study this shit for fun while watching TV, trying to pick up new scripts and new dialogues and new interactions and new stuff that I can put into my business. I'm like you, man. I mean, I'm just always on it. I want to read. I want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we probably are. We've probably got our own issues, but in terms of productivity. We're in good shape. So
yeah, we're all insane, but it's insane in a way that brings value to society. So I'm not going to worry too much about it.
Insane in the membrane.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. So going down on the rabbit hole on seller lead generation. So you've got your Cole Realty loading up the data into Mojo, making the calls. Is that in conjunction with before, after mailers? Kind of let people know kind of what else is going on that's helping you reach those people besides just calling.
So we reach people, the best ways to me to reach people. I mean, there's not a lot of mediums to reach people, but today the mediums that we use are Facebook, Google, mailers, and calling. Mm-hmm. And so the only element to that I'd love to add, but it's very hard to manage, is actually door knocking. So I used to actually have a full-time person who was going around door knocking, but in the Northeast with the weather, it's very difficult to get somebody, the week before Christmas when it's a 12-inch snowstorm to still knock on doors. Yeah. So that's the only medium that I feel like I'm kind of missing. But yeah, they're all in conjunction with each other. So somebody may go on Facebook and see a Facebook ad, and then while they're looking at the Facebook ad, they may get a call from my inside sales agent, or they might get if they open their mailbox that day, they might get a letter in the mail. So they all work together. People, branding takes a long time and a lot of messages in order for somebody to recognize who you are and that you're a legitimate company. So we just keep pounding them over and over and over again. And at some point they either say, please leave us alone, or yes, finally, I will let you come out to my house. And when we're not really stopping until we get one or the other.
Okay. Have you, do you use Corfax by any chance for your mailings, so you can track them back in when they come in and log in for their value of their home, or do you have another company you use?
No, I don't use Core Value. What I do is every mailer, I send out a series of mailers, and they're all tracked with a phone number. So like the first mailer has a 1-digit at the end, the second mailer has a 2-digit at the end, the third mailer has a 3-digit at the end. So we see what sequence when they call in, what ad that they're responding to.
Interesting. How many do you do? I mean, we can argue all day about how many touches it takes to get there, but I've heard that it takes about 8 impressions on the homeowner until they start recognizing, going, oh, Tom, yeah, I've heard of him. He's that real estate guy, right? Then you get the 9th one, you're like, oh, that Tom's back, something like that. Are you seeing the 8, or are you seeing less or more? What are you seeing?
I'm actually seeing less than that. So when we did this tracking where we still do it, but like when we analyze the tracking, we see who calls based on what number of mailers, and we get our best results on the 3rd and 4th letter. After the 4th letter, it drops off a lot. But what we do is we do a mailer every other week, 4 times. So over the course of 8 weeks, we're doing 4 letters. But keep in mind, we will do rounds of that. Like, it's not like we do it once and then we give up. We will do the series of the 4 mailers, and then 7, 8, 9 months later, we'll hit that same list over and over again, because we have that one big database that we're consistently marketing to. So those people, over the course of 2 or 3 years, they might have got 50 mailers from us. I mean, we don't stop until, again, we get some sort of indication, what they're thinking about doing.
Interesting. So a lot of people always say like, well, I know I've tried 3 times and no one's getting back to me, and they're like, what? And it hurts their little feelers, and they go home and cry in the corner. What? I mean, you just take it on the chin and keep rolling. You're like, well, it's just life. Things happen. I'll just keep trucking until they get a hold of me or tell you to go take a long walk off a shore pier. I mean, it's not emotional for you, is what I'm hearing. It's purely numbers, right?
Purely numbers. I mean, that's with the cold calling, that's with the mailers, that's with the social media messaging. I mean, if somebody doesn't want to sell to me, that's fine, but I'll still say, hey, are you considering selling in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Try to get a date out of them and then put them in the follow-up. I mean, no, there's zero emotion.
And I think that's one of the most important things to keep in mind for all of you guys that are watching right now is the fact that, like, yes, you can get emotionally involved in it. I have some people that I work with very, very closely that get very emotionally distraught when a friend or a family member or someone else doesn't use them. But in reality, if they don't use you, then you didn't bring enough value. So you have to work on yourself and bring in more value. So Tom, when Tom's getting all these, fix and flips, and then the byproduct are these listings, he's bringing value to these people because he's consistently in front of them. Right. So what are you guys doing in your business?
I think like one thing that you mentioned, I see this a lot even within my own brokerage. Like you mentioned, a friend will list with somebody else, and I'll say to the person, well, when was the last time you reached out to them?
Yes.
And it'll be a year, 2 years. And the thing is, it's not a seller's job to remember that you're a real estate agent. And a lot of times they don't remember. So they may, you may have changed jobs 2 years ago, and they may still look at you as that accountant or that engineer, and they totally forgot that you were a real estate agent because you haven't been incubating them with messages over and over and over again. But then there is a certain percentage of people that you're just going to lose. Like there are a certain percentage of your friends or even some family members that just aren't going to want to work with you. They want somebody that doesn't have that personal connection to them, which is fine. But as long as you have a total volume and you're in front of enough people, you'll do enough deals.
Mm-hmm. And so for agents, I mean, how big is your farm, Tom? How big a net do you throw?
For what?
For marketing, like these mailers and stuff like that. I mean, are you doing like farms like 500 or are you doing like 50,000?
So our database is 500,000. And so that's who we're marketing to, right? So again, that goes for the mailers, that goes for the cold calling, that goes for the social media, that goes for Google. And those are the houses that theoretically I want to buy. And of course, I'm only going to buy a fraction of them, but those are the ones that I want to potentially buy.
I freaking love you, dude. I love how your brain works. I think we were separated at birth. You're like, most people are like, 500. You're like, no, 500,000. Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, well, like I hear a lot from people, like I did a mailer and it didn't work. And then I say, well, how many mailers did you do? Well, I did 200. Well, yeah, you sent out about 1% of the amount that you need to send out to get a deal. Of course, they don't work. But that frustrates me though when somebody says that something marketing related does not work. Like even like simple things like Zillow and Trulia and all that, they don't work. It's because either you're not working the lead or you're not really spending enough money or time.
Yeah, I mean, we have a team here in the valley here, in the Tri-Valley, and the lender and the agent both put in $5K a month, and they do anywhere from 8 to 14 deals a month.
That's awesome.
Just from Zillow, because they're paying to play. Other people that spend like $150 on Zillow ads. Okay, dude, that's like shooting a BB gun at a freight train. It ain't gonna do shit except for waste your money.
But that's and Tom, this goes back to your struggle, which is that most agents don't want clients; they want the next client.
Yes, that's exactly. I actually read something that was so powerful the other day. It broke agents up into three agents that work internet leads into 3 categories. Okay. And the first category is agents that basically only work leads for people that are ready, willing, and able to buy or sell today. And that was group A. And then group B is the ones that they stay in touch with the people that are either ready, willing, or able to buy it today or at some point in the future. And then the top level was agents who stay in front of everybody and get referrals from the people that are in their database and consistently work all of them. And it's like, there's just so much more ROI if you're in that third group. And I just found it interesting because it's definitely true.
It is true. Yep.
Interesting.
And that's not just in real estate. That's anything. But it's agent. The fact that it's internet leads allows us to kind of quantify it and probably put numbers to something that we knew was that way beforehand, but now we have the data.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I think that's the struggle in trying to. I mean, Greg, you and I run into this. We're all running into this because we want to help agents be more successful, but a lot of times we find that we care more about the results than they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it really does, and I don't understand why our heads are screwed on that way. We need to rethink it, retool that, and come at a different angle. But I like the A, B, and C, the now business, which that's what everyone's wet dream is now business.
Yeah.
I talk to so many people, and they're like, "Well, I did like a couple calls, and no, but I didn't get a single call back." I'm like, "Bitch, it's because you made 10 phone calls. You know, you got to step up your game a little bit." Well, why am I not getting now business? Well, because the 3% of the people are actually going to do something right now. Right, you got to. Then you got another like 10% that are going to be the down the road people who do something at some point. So you have roughly a running average of about 10% of the people that are not going to do anything at any given time. That's why they see is such a good thing is you stay in front of everybody and you milk it for the referrals, you milk it for the now business, the down the road business, but you stay in front of everyone, bring equal value. But
the best thing I did in the past couple of years was go through all of my old leads and have the inside sales agents call through the old leads. So what you're explaining is something that I actually didn't understand because I'm not a real estate agent per se by trade. And I didn't really realize that, people would fill out a form 3.5 years ago, but then sell 3.5 years later.
Oh, yeah.
And I really honestly, I did not know that. And I had somebody who said, why don't you go through your old database? And we did. And man, there were so many deals in there. I couldn't even believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We use Corfact for our mailer, and we have people that from 6 years ago are still coming back every month and, interacting with what we send out to them and checking their values and everything else. It's unbelievable how long of a tail that can be at times.
Yeah.
Because people think, well, they responded to what I put out there, bam, it's business. No, they're just raising their hand. Now it's your job to build the relationship and stay on top of them and make sure they don't go to another agent. That you can still be that guy or that gal that's going to be the go-to person because you're going to be staying in front of them.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing that I didn't really understand is that when that lead first does come in, it's an opportunity to build a relationship with somebody who is going to probably sell in the near future. Mm-hmm. And again, from an investor standpoint, I never understood that because most of our investor deals do come right off the bat. But on the agency side, there are so many of those people that fill out a form and then it's just an opportunity to build a relationship. And if you do a good job of it, you're going to capitalize and you're going to build your sphere.
Yeah, sellers they're voyeurs. They just sit there and watch and wait. They're waiting for the market to do something, then they jump into the ring and do something. You got to be okay with that idea. But I mean, but like someone like you, I mean, you're watching 500,000 homes. I mean, shit, dude, you make me look like a pipsqueak, and I'm watching 120,000. Now I gotta put my big boy pants on and go find some more homes.
gotta get in Oakland, San Jose.
We need to though, because on the investment side, again, you have to keep in mind. So you said your database is 150, mine's 500. Only 10% of the people. Only 10% of the sellers that even raise their hand are going to sell to me. So you have 150,000 people that 90% of them are going to list at some point. And I've got 500,000 people where 90% of them are going to list and only 10% of them are going to take an investor offer. So I actually need a bigger database if I'm going to do the investment deals.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yep.
I mean, it really does because it's a contact sport. The more you contact, the more deals you get, the more opportunities you have. And I love the fact that you're diversifying out. You're not going just one vein of business, right? You're going after land, air, and sea. I mean, it's imperative to do that because you have to literally be omnipotent. You need to be everywhere at all times. So then when they see Tom's name, they're like, oh, him again. Oh, him again. Oh, him again. And that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes it hurts my feelings because you got the people who aren't super nice about it, but
What?
Like,
Tom, let me show you how to do this. Hold on, Tom, raise your right hand, go like this. Okay, this is your pimp hand.
Yeah. It's funny though. It's funny though because it's like a bell curve. Like 10 like 10 or 20% of the people get vicious. They get really mad that you're prospecting to them all the time. Then on the other side, 10 or 20% are so happy that you just recently contacted them, and then most people are in the middle and they could care less what you do. They're totally ignoring you.
Yep.
It's so true. I had a guy yell at me last night. Oh God, this guy was vicious at me, dude. He was just ripping me apart. He's like, "How dare you call me? Blah blah blah. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." I'm like, "Sir, it's just a phone call. I am not threatening your life. I'm bringing you information. Not even asking you to sell."
Oh man.
Yeah, I've had people that thought literally like I was gonna buy their house without their permission.
Yeah,
that's a hostile takeover situation.
Like, you are not going to steal my house from me. I'm like, well, if you don't want to sell, I can't do it. There's nothing I can do. Even if I might want to buy your house really, really bad, but there's no way I can buy it without your permission. And some people I think don't understand that. They think I'm going to come in and like bulldoze the whole neighborhood or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they think you're like a developer, like a whole subdivision developer or something. You're going to get eminent domain to come take away their home.
Yeah, I'm gonna somehow, some way, I'm gonna take their house. I'm like, right. I can't do that.
mall developer extraordinaire.
Oh my God. It is funny. People have, they're so sensitive on so many different things. We need to take, everyone's need to take their emotions and dial it back a little bit. It's like, dude, you make a phone call, I send a postcard, I do an online ad, then you meet me in person and you want to throw a tomato at me? For what, being a proactive marketer? Dude, this is what you're looking for when it comes to like an agent. I'm just doing it ahead of time, Just
I don't get it too much in person though. It's always, people are tough guys on email or over the phone, but in person I don't really see it too much. But yeah, like on phone, the phone is the worst because, somebody, they can just hear your voice. That's it.
Dude, okay, Tom, I got to tell you this one story, dude. I was doing calls, right? And this guy got so pissed off that I gave one call to him, right? And he drove down to my office and actually came into my brokerage to confront me. Dude, I'm 6'5", right? And I walk up there and I am pissed. And this little mighty mouse of a human being is up there like squeaking at me. I'm like, "Hey, how are you? Come on over. Let's go talk in the conference room." The guy's like, "Ooh." The wrong agent to pick on.
But why though? Like what you did, has no impact on their life. It's like, man, it's just, obviously some people are just angry, but it's kind of humorous.
It is. I tell that story.
I could picture Matt doing something like that.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
I can see it. Especially if they stole his cookies. That's currency for him.
My cookies or scotch. That's right. I don't have either one in the house right now. What is going on with me?
You're losing it, Matt.
Somebody stole my cookies and scotch. I'm going to go down to the nearest real estate brokerage and choose somebody else.
You sell houses. Come here, bitch.
All right, Tom. One thing I wanted to hammer home real quick, and maybe we need to. Actually, let's save it. Let's save it for another episode. I wanted you to really give an idea of what it's like as an agent to have like this whole other toolbox of like investing strategies that they can walk in there with. It's that it completely changes like what your listing appointment is. But I think that's probably enough that we need to devote like a whole other podcast episode to that, to like what that really looks like and what a listing process is when you actually know your investing stuff. So let's get you back on the show like a month or 5 or 6 weeks out, and we'll do an episode just about that part of it, so that agents really understand like what that feels like to walk in there and you have like a cash offer at your disposal. You know what you can offer from an investor. You know what the market will bear and all that stuff. Just kind of your process for that and what that looks like if they build that into their business. So I know that'd be fascinating, Greg, for what you and I are building behind the scenes, because with what you and I are building, with the ability to know, I don't want to say anything too in depth, but
future knowledge. Let's say
you have future knowledge of who's going to sell. What do you do with it? Well, this is something very effective that you can do with it, which is you make a pitch for an investor sale. You walk in, and if they're not right for investor sale, great. You have a listing that you can essentially then present there, and it's a much different way to run that appointment. So anyway, but Tom, let people know kind of just a little bit about, obviously besides the podcast, they can go subscribe to that on iTunes, YouTube, they can find it there. They can find you at tomcafarella.com and all that stuff. But what's the main way that you want people to connect with you, and what do you do to help agents kind of add that stuff to their toolbox?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is just to go on tomcafarella.com, and there's a couple of contact forms there that people can fill out. The way that I work with people in other markets is, so we work with agents to add these tools into their toolbox. And so we work with them one-on-one directly, coach them on how to do it, and train them on how to do it. And so that when they do get in front of, either when they do get in front of that 10%, that they can make more money, or to teach them, how to prospect to sellers in general. And again, without going into too much detail on it, you're going to get way more people that are willing to meet with you if you say, hey, I have an offer for you, versus let me tell you the market value of your home.
Yeah. Good. Really good stuff.
Yeah. Stuff we need to talk about.
Yes, it is. Add that to the laundry list of shit we need to discuss.
I know, exactly. We're going to have like a 3-hour call today. Oh my
yes,
God.
We are.
All right. So guys, we're also debriefing from the event in LA on Tuesday with Glenn Twiddle, Brian Casella, and Josh Altman. Guys, thanks so much for those of you that are watching that came out, guys like Stefan, and guys, we just want to thank you for coming out. First of all, that was an awesome event. The way that event went meant that we will be doing more of those events. The only question is where and how often. But we had a blast. We're going to make those events even more fun and more of an event and more of a spectacle for you guys to come out and see and be a part of and be able to interact and talk with you guys directly, which is a lot of fun for us because it's as much as I love being home, and Greg makes fun of me for being an agoraphobic, it does get old just talking to each other through a video conference. I like getting out and hanging out in person and speaking. So Greg, how should people reach out to us?
Guys, follow us on Facebook, please. Follow us, don't friend us. I'm at 5,000. Matt won't take your friends because he is agoraphobic. You might give him a dirt particle on a finger.
I'm selective. That's all. I don't take friend requests from people I don't know. That's all.
Anyways, guys, follow us on Facebook. If you guys like this, you're gonna love the live calls that I do I try to do it on a daily basis at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time to about 5:30. I do live cold calls. So if you guys want to do calls and learn about how to do them, like Tom and his whole crew do, and like what I do to generate a lot of business, please follow us, guys. I'm Greg McDaniel. You're gonna see me in a red shirt pointing at my hat. It says Real Estate Life on it. And then Get Now Business, we are launching again in the 10th of July. Guys, it is a great opportunity if you want to learn how to get business right now with no cold calls and no door knocking and a budget of no more than $500. This is a course that's built for you. You're going to see Matt and I interact and role play together. We're not going to call on you. We did that in the past. We're not going to do it in the future because we want you guys to see how to do it right, and we don't want you guys to feel embarrassed by if you're not doing it right. So you can go watch us later on and practice, by yourself somewhere. But yeah, watch Matt and I interact together. And you'll be able to see the tonality and the scripts and the tips and tricks that we're going to give you guys. So I will put the link in here right now. And Matt, I'll let you finish it off, my friend.
Cool. Tom, thanks. It was a pleasure. As always, phenomenal job. Guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the show, share the show, go to iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Those are the main places you can find us. You can also go to reuncensored.com. That is our website, and keep up with all the stuff we have going on. We've got great guests coming up. We've got Brian Elbogen, who we met at the San Diego Expo. He's going to talk next week about some creative financing options that you can bring to buyers, which are going to be really, really interesting. So it's another arsenal, another tool in that toolbox that we talked about. So, and then we've got a solo episode, live Q&A, guys. So whatever your questions are, objections, scripts, whatever, bring it on Monday at 3 p.m. and we will see everybody then.
Yeah, guys, Daniel, Gene, and Casey, my 19-year-old gun-toting fool. Thank you for sharing this, guys. Please continue. But until next time, guys, peace out, ninjas. We gone.